Your soulmate's unsent letter has finally been released, and the first sentence has already destroyed the story everyone told you about why they disappeared. The letter was written exactly 1,000 days ago, sealed inside a private digital vault, and programmed to reach you only after a confidential legal agreement expired. Your soulmate begins by saying, "You were never abandoned. I was ordered to make you believe I had chosen another life because your name was about to be attached to something I did." Beneath those words are copies of deleted messages, security records, and a photograph of the train ticket they purchased on the night both of you planned to leave together. The ticket proves they reached the station. The platform camera proves they watched you waiting. But instead of walking toward you, your soulmate entered a black car with 2 attorneys and disappeared before you could see them. For nearly 3 years, you believed they changed their mind. Today, the final page reveals that they walked away because a powerful organization threatened to accuse you of stealing the private identities of hundreds of young people unless your soulmate accepted the blame and removed you from their life forever. The letter did not arrive through ordinary mail. It appeared this morning inside an account you had almost forgotten existed. Years earlier, both of you joined a service called the Lantern Vault. It allowed people to write messages that could be released on a future date or when a verified legal condition ended. Most users stored birthday letters, family memories, or words they hoped to share when they finally found enough courage. You and your soulmate treated it lightly. During one late-night conversation, you each created an account and promised that if fear ever prevented either person from speaking directly, the truth would still have somewhere to wait. You wrote a short message and released it the following morning. Your soulmate did not show you what they wrote. They said theirs was unfinished. You assumed they deleted it. This morning, the Lantern Vault sent you a notification. A protected letter addressed to you is now available. The sender did not cancel its release. You almost ignored it. 3 years had passed. Your life had changed. You had trained yourself not to search for hidden meaning in every unknown message. You had stopped opening old photographs, stopped asking mutual friends for information, and stopped imagining the explanation your soulmate never gave. Then you saw the release date. The letter had been scheduled on the night your relationship ended. The subject line contained only 5 words, "I did come to the station." That sentence forced you to open it. The station was where both of you planned to begin a new life. Your soulmate had been selected to lead a national education initiative in another city. You were not moving only for them. A design studio had offered you a role nearby, and both opportunities appeared within the same month. For the first time, the future did not require one person to sacrifice everything while the other advanced. Both of you found a modest apartment near the old railway district. It had narrow windows, unfinished floors, and a kitchen so small that opening one cabinet blocked another. You loved it immediately. Your soulmate stood inside the empty living room and said, "This is the first place that feels like it belongs to our decisions instead of everyone else's expectations." You signed the preliminary lease. You bought 2 train tickets. Your soulmate told their family the move was happening. That announcement created more resistance than either of you expected. Your soulmate's family had long been connected to the Meridian Scholars Foundation, an organization that provided educational grants and career placements to students from disadvantaged communities. The foundation had been created by your soulmate's late grandfather and was treated as the family's greatest legacy. Your soulmate worked there as program director. Their mother chaired the board, their uncle managed partnerships, and a respected executive named Victor Rowe controlled operations. Victor had known your soulmate since childhood. He attended family celebrations, advised them through university, and helped them enter leadership. Everyone described him as the person who protected the foundation when idealistic plans met financial reality. Your soulmate admired him. You did not trust him completely. Your concern did not begin with jealousy or family tension. It began when both of you volunteered to redesign the foundation's scholarship portal. Applicants were submitting identification documents, financial records, family histories, medical accommodations, and private essays through an outdated system. You noticed that too many employees possessed access to complete files. You suggested limiting access. Victor said the organization operated like a family and trusted its people. You replied, "Trust is not a security system." He smiled as though you had made an intelligent but immature observation. Your soulmate supported your recommendation privately. Publicly, they asked for a gradual update because Victor warned that changing permissions during application season could delay scholarships. You agreed to help without payment. You created a test system separating financial information from personal essays and identity records. You also built an audit tool showing when a file was opened, downloaded, or transferred. Within 2 weeks, the tool detected unusual activity. Hundreds of applicant profiles had been accessed after midnight through an administrative account belonging to Victor's office. Entire folders were exported. The activity occurred every few weeks and had continued long before you joined the project. You showed the logs to your soulmate. They initially believed the exports had a legitimate purpose. Victor frequently worked late and shared information with partner universities. But the downloaded files included applicants who had not consented to outside review. Your soulmate asked Victor privately. He said a technical vendor created backup copies. You requested the vendor's name. He refused, citing confidentiality. You asked why backups were being downloaded manually and opened from multiple locations. Victor's tone changed. He said you had been invited to improve the portal, not investigate senior leadership. You answered that access logs were part of improving security. He told your soulmate that your involvement needed to end. Your soulmate refused. For the first time, they challenged Victor directly in front of the board. They said applicant information deserved the same protection the foundation would expect for members of its own family. Victor appeared disappointed rather than angry. That response frightened your soulmate more. He said, "You are allowing a personal relationship to influence your judgment." Your soulmate answered, "I am allowing evidence to influence my judgment." The meeting ended without resolution. The following morning, your access was removed. The audit tool disappeared from the system. Victor told the board that your software had created instability and risked exposing protected information. He said an independent review would determine whether your work complied with data protection requirements. You and your soulmate understood the warning. Instead of investigating the midnight downloads, Victor was preparing to investigate the person who found them. Your soulmate began copying evidence through authorized channels. They preserved access logs, vendor invoices, and internal emails showing that Victor had negotiated a private partnership with several recruitment companies. Those companies paid the foundation for early access to high-performing applicants. The arrangement was described as a career placement service. Applicants were never told that personal essays, family income records, and educational histories were being analyzed commercially. Some students were rejected from scholarships and then contacted by expensive training programs that somehow knew their exact academic weaknesses. Victor called it targeted opportunity. Your soulmate called it exploitation. The money did not appear clearly inside the foundation's public accounts. Payments moved through consulting firms controlled by board partners. Part supported legitimate programs. Another portion funded executive bonuses, private travel, and expansion plans. Your soulmate wanted to expose everything immediately. You urged caution. Hundreds of current students depended upon the foundation for tuition and housing. If accounts froze without protection, the people whose data had been exploited could also lose their education. Both of you contacted an independent data rights attorney named Alina Chen. She advised preserving evidence, securing current scholarship funds, and notifying regulators through a protected process. The plan required secrecy for several weeks. You believed both of you could survive several weeks. Victor already knew something had changed. He asked your soulmate to attend a private meeting. When they arrived, he placed a printed security report on the table. It showed that the largest data export had been performed using an authentication token created by you. Your soulmate stared at the page. You had created the token during the portal redesign. It was supposed to access test files only. Victor's technical team secretly expanded its permissions and used it for the midnight downloads. The report made it appear that you had exported the applicant data. Victor said the Foundation's investigators had traced files to an external server connected to your studio. Your soulmate knew you had never mentioned an external server. Victor played a recording from a board meeting where you said, "The information needs to exist outside their control before anyone can examine it independently." You had been discussing encrypted evidence for an attorney. He presented the sentence as an admission that you removed applicant files. Victor said police and regulators could be notified by morning. He warned that the evidence suggested you accessed identities, financial records, and confidential essays without authorization. Your soulmate said the token had been manipulated. Victor asked them to prove it. They requested the raw server records. He said the records were legally protected during the investigation. Once again, the person accused was denied access to the evidence. Victor then offered your soulmate a solution. They would sign a statement admitting they instructed you to create the token and remove the data. The Foundation would describe the breach as an emotional mistake made by a young program director attempting to expose concerns without following procedure. Your soulmate would resign. You would not be named publicly. Regulators would receive only a limited report saying the data had been secured and deleted. Current scholarships would continue. Your soulmate refused. Victor opened another folder. It contained information about your studio, clients, personal accounts, and family. He said if the Foundation pursued you fully, professional partners would learn that you were under investigation for one of the largest private data breaches in the organization's history. Even if no criminal charges succeeded, the accusation could destroy your career. Victor said, "You understand systems. They will believe you knew exactly how to hide it." Your soulmate asked what he wanted. Victor said they must accept responsibility, leave the Foundation, end the relationship, and remain silent for 3 years under a confidential settlement. The relationship condition was not written formally. Victor explained it differently. He said investigators would never believe your involvement was limited if both of you remained together. Every contact between you could be presented as coordination. Separating would make your soulmate's confession appear credible and protect you as an independent contractor who followed their instructions unknowingly. Your soulmate said you deserved to know. Victor replied, "The moment you warn them, the protection ends." He gave them 6 hours. That was the day both of you were supposed to leave for the new city. Your soulmate walked out of the meeting carrying the train ticket, apartment key, and the knowledge that reaching you might destroy your professional life. They contacted Alina Chen. The attorney confirmed that Victor's evidence had been manufactured, but proving it would require access to servers he controlled. The regulator's protected process was not yet complete. If Victor publicly accused you first, the story could spread before the truth was secured. Alina recommended rejecting the settlement and fighting. Your soulmate asked what would happen to current scholarship funds if the Foundation collapsed. She said emergency protection could be requested, but nothing was guaranteed. They asked what would happen to you. She answered honestly, "You may be investigated. Your devices may be seized. Your clients may be contacted. We can defend you, but I cannot promise the accusation will remain private." Your soulmate made the worst decision of their life while believing it was the only way to protect everyone. They accepted Victor's arrangement. Before signing, they demanded 3 conditions. Current students would receive guaranteed funding through the academic year. Your name would not appear in any report. An independent copy of the server records would be sealed with Alina and released automatically when the confidentiality agreement ended. Victor agreed because he believed 3 years would be enough to erase public interest, control the evidence, and convince everyone that your relationship had simply failed. Your soulmate signed the statement. They resigned from the Foundation. Then they wrote you the letter now open on your screen. The first page says, "I have less than 2 hours before the train leaves. I have been told that speaking to you will turn you into the person responsible for everything I am about to admit." They explain the token, the midnight downloads, and Victor's threat. They write, "I know you did not take those files. I know because the administrator logs show someone changed your permissions after your work ended. I also know they can make the accusation believable enough to destroy the life you built. Your soulmate admits they are considering accepting the blame. They say, I keep asking whether love means trusting you enough to fight beside me or loving you enough to keep the fight from reaching you. Then the letter becomes more painful. Your soulmate writes that they are going to the station. They want to see you one final time, even if they cannot speak. They promise to remain where you cannot notice them. At 7:12 p.m., they enter the station through a side entrance. At 7:18, you arrive carrying one suitcase and the folder containing the apartment lease. At 7:22, you call. Your soulmate's phone is inside their hand. They do not answer. At 7:31, you send a message, I am here. Whatever happened today, come and tell me yourself. Your soulmate reads it. They begin walking toward the platform. Then Victor's attorney calls. He says investigators are preparing to contact your clients because the foundation has detected suspicious access from your token. Unless the agreement is completed immediately, your name will be included. Your soulmate stops. At 7:36, they write inside the letter, you are standing less than 50 meters away. I can see you looking at every entrance. At 7:41, a black car arrives behind the station. Your soulmate leaves through the service exit and enters it. At 7:45, your train departs without either of you. You remain on the platform until nearly 9. Your soulmate is taken to the foundation office, where attorneys collect their phone and require them to sign the final confidentiality agreement. Victor sends you a message from their account, I cannot leave with you. I realized I am not ready for the life we planned. Please do not contact me again. You reply immediately, tell me this in your own voice. No answer comes. Victor blocks your number. The letter says, that was not my message. I did not choose the family, the foundation, or another person. I chose a lie because I believed the lie would keep your name outside the investigation. The following morning, the foundation announced your soulmate's resignation. The statement said they accepted responsibility for improper handling of applicant information during an unauthorized internal investigation. No one publicly accused you. Privately, Victor told the family that you encouraged the data removal and then abandoned your soulmate when consequences appeared. He said your soulmate took responsibility to prevent you from facing charges. That part contained enough truth to become convincing. Your soulmate had taken responsibility to protect you. But you never asked them to. You did not know a sacrifice was being made. You believed they ended the relationship and allowed you to wait at the station like someone whose future had become embarrassing overnight. You attempted to contact them through mutual friends. Everyone said they needed space. One relative told you the relationship had distracted them from their duties and contributed to the foundation scandal. You asked whether your work was connected to the breach. The relative said no official accusation existed. You requested your portal records from the foundation. Victor's office responded that all records were part of a confidential investigation. You suspected the truth. You contacted Alina independently, unaware she already represented your soulmate. Professional rules prevented her from revealing the confidential arrangement. She could say only that you should preserve every device and document connected to the portal. You did. For months, no investigator contacted you. The absence of an accusation should have brought relief. Instead, it deepened the mystery. Your soulmate vanished from public life. Their family said they were recovering privately. Some reports claimed they entered a professional program abroad. Others said they were caring for a sick relative. No one knew that the confidentiality agreement required them to work under supervision while helping rebuild the Foundation's data systems without public credit. Victor called it restitution. In reality, he used your soulmate to repair the security failures that allowed his scheme to operate. Every month, they documented another hidden vendor, altered permission, or manipulated account. They sent everything to Alina's sealed archive. They were building the case that would eventually clear both names. They were also forbidden to contact you. The agreement said any communication with a person connected to the original portal work could be interpreted as coordination and end the protection, preventing a wider investigation. Your soulmate accepted the condition initially. After 6 months, they understood that Victor never intended to release them. He continued using the possibility of accusing you whenever they requested independence. When your soulmate threatened to contact regulators directly, Victor showed them photographs of your new studio and recent clients. He had been monitoring you. He said one anonymous complaint could reopen every question. Your soulmate remained silent. The letter admits that protection eventually became fear. It says, "At first, I believed silence kept you safe. Later, silence kept me from discovering whether you hated me. I began using the agreement to hide from the answer I had earned." This confession matters because your soulmate does not pretend every month of separation was forced. Victor created the threat. The legal agreement restricted communication. But there were moments when your soulmate could have challenged the arrangement earlier. They could have asked the sealed attorney to contact you. They could have requested a court review. They could have trusted you to decide whether the risk was worth facing together. They did not. They chose for you. Love became control disguised as sacrifice. While your soulmate remained silent, you rebuilt your life around the belief that you were rejected. You accepted different work. You released the apartment. You stopped traveling through the old station because every platform reminded you of waiting. Your professional confidence changed. You questioned whether your intensity, independence, or questions had made a shared future impossible. You never knew the qualities you blamed were the same qualities Victor feared. Your insistence upon evidence had exposed his system. Your refusal to accept vague explanations made you difficult to control. You were not removed because you were unworthy of the family. You were removed because you were capable of making your soulmate independent from people who benefited from secrecy. 1 year after the station, a former Foundation employee contacted you anonymously. She said the official breach report contained a token linked to your work. She wanted to know whether anyone had interviewed you. You said no. She sent one screenshot showing that the token's permissions changed after your contract ended. It was the first evidence proving someone had used your identity inside the system. You could have released it publicly. You did not. You contacted a data protection regulator and submitted it through a protected channel. You explained that hundreds of applicants might be affected and requested that current scholarships be secured before any public action. Without knowing it, you made the same choice your soulmate made. You protected the students before protecting your reputation. The regulator connected your complaint to Alina's sealed archive. The complete case began forming. Investigators discovered Victor's recruitment partnerships, hidden consulting payments, altered access records, and private messages ordering technical staff to use your token. They also discovered the confidential agreement your soulmate signed. The agreement did not legally authorize Victor to manufacture evidence or restrict contact indefinitely. It had been presented under threats that could qualify as coercion. Your soulmate was not the person responsible for the original data operation. They had signed a false admission. You had not committed any breach. The regulator prepared enforcement action. Victor attempted to negotiate. He offered to resign quietly, restore affected funds, and release your soulmate from confidentiality if the investigation remained private. Your soulmate refused. For the first time, they said your name aloud inside a recorded meeting. They said, "You used the person I loved as a threat, and I helped you because I believed fear was responsibility. I will not protect the system from the truth again." Victor warned that public disclosure would destroy the foundation. Your soulmate answered, "The foundation was already destroyed the moment applicants became products. What remains can be rebuilt honestly." Emergency funds were separated. Students received direct guarantees. Affected applicants were notified privately before the public announcement. Victor was removed. The board dissolved. Independent trustees took control. The confidentiality agreement expired this morning when the regulator filed its final action. That event triggered the Lantern Vault. The letter was released automatically. Your soulmate could have cancelled it at any point during the last 1,000 days. They did not. But they also added new pages. The original letter ends at the station. The later pages explain what happened afterward. Your soulmate writes, "I once believed this letter would prove I loved you enough to disappear. Now I understand that disappearing was not the pure sacrifice I wanted it to be." They admit they denied you the right to choose. They allowed you to believe your future meant nothing. They permitted others to describe you as someone who walked away from difficulty. They protected your name from one investigation while damaging your heart through another lie. They say, "I saved your career from an accusation you may have defeated yourself. I did not save you from believing you were unworthy of one honest goodbye." The letter includes every document needed to verify the story: the original server logs, the token permission changes, the agreement, your soulmate's resignation statement, Victor's messages, and the regulator's final findings. You do not need to trust a romantic confession. The evidence exists independently. Your soulmate also reveals that they watched your life from a distance, but they do not describe surveillance as love. Victor's team monitored your professional activity. Your soulmate received updates whenever he threatened to involve you. Sometimes they searched public information themselves. They saw your studio reopening. They saw a photograph of you receiving a small professional award. They saw you smiling beside people they did not recognize. They wanted to contact you. They did not. They write, "I called my silence protection because that sounded better than admitting I was afraid you had learned to live without me." Then comes the part about the unsent letter itself. Your soulmate explains why it remained inside the vault rather than being delivered secretly through Alina. The original letter was written before they signed the agreement. It contained information that could have exposed the investigation and placed students at risk. Later, when partial contact became legally possible, the letter no longer felt sufficient. Too much time had passed. Sending it might appear like asking you to validate a sacrifice you never requested. They decided the truth should arrive only when it could arrive completely. The final investigation has now reached that point. But complete truth does not create complete repair. Your soulmate understands. They are not standing at the old station expecting you to appear. They are not carrying the unused train ticket as though the past can resume from the moment it stopped. They have asked the Lantern Vault to release the letter without tracking whether you read every page. They will know it was delivered, but not how long you remained or which documents you opened. Your privacy belongs to you. They have also instructed Alina to handle any legal correction, compensation, or professional communication without requiring direct contact. Your career was affected by a system using your security token. Your time and emotional life were also affected. No payment can return either, but accountability must include more than an apology. The Foundation will issue a public statement confirming that you discovered the access vulnerability, did not remove applicant files, and cooperated with regulators. Every organization that received a private warning about your work will receive a correction. Your soulmate will sign it personally. They are not offering these actions in exchange for reconciliation. They write, "Your name will be corrected even if mine never appears in your life again." That is what accountability looks like when it stops demanding a reward. The most emotional section of the letter begins with the apartment. Your soulmate visited the building 6 months after the station. Someone else lived inside the unit both of you chose. A plant stood near the narrow window. 2 bicycles rested beside the entrance. They remained across the street for almost an hour. They imagined the life that might have existed. Then they understood that the apartment was no longer waiting. Neither were you. They write, "I kept thinking our future had been paused. I finally understood that a future cannot be paused without the consent of both people inside it. The old plans expired. Your old willingness expired. The person who waited at the station does not owe the returning soulmate an unchanged answer." The final page begins with a warning: do not read what comes next as a request to hurry. Your soulmate says they still love you. They do not say love proves both of you belong together. They say, I loved you when I entered the car. I loved you when I signed the lie. I loved you during every month of silence. None of that love gave you truth, choice, or safety. Love hidden behind fear can still cause harm. They acknowledge that you may have built another life, found another connection, or simply become peaceful alone. They will not call any of those outcomes betrayal. They were the person who disappeared. You were the person forced to continue. Then comes the final line, the sentence that changes the entire meaning of the letter. I did not leave because I stopped choosing you. I left because I believed choosing for you was the same as protecting you, and I now understand that real love would have trusted you with the truth. That is the confession. Your soulmate did not abandon the station because another person arrived. They did not secretly accept a better future. They did not decide you were incompatible with the family. They entered the black car because your identity was about to be attached to a major data scandal. They accepted the blame, protected scholarship funds, and spent 3 years gathering proof. But the letter does not turn them into a perfect hero. They made a decision affecting your life without your consent. They allowed you to carry emotional rejection so they could carry legal responsibility. They mistook suffering alone for loving deeply. Today, they recognize the difference. You may feel relief when you read the letter. The station was not a rejection. The apartment was not meaningless. The future both of you planned was real. You may feel anger because one direct conversation could have changed everything. You may understand the pressure and still decide the harm is too great. Every response is valid. You do not owe forgiveness because your soulmate suffered too. You do not owe reunion because the accusation was false. You do not owe an immediate answer because the letter waited 1,000 days. Take the time that was once taken from you. Verify the documents. Speak with the independent attorney. Watch how your soulmate behaves now that secrecy is no longer legally required. Will they correct your name publicly? Will they support the applicants whose information was exploited? Will they accept consequences for signing a false statement? Will they respect your silence? Will they resist family pressure without needing you to become their source of courage? One powerful letter can reveal the past. Only consistent action can make a future safe. Your soulmate ends by saying, I will be at the old station next Friday from 7 until 8, not because I expect you to come, but because it is the place where I removed your choice. I will wait once. After that, I will not turn waiting into pressure. They say you may send an attorney, a written response, or nothing. If you arrive, there will be no ring. No prepared speech. No demand to recreate the old apartment. Only the complete truth and two people deciding whether one honest conversation remains possible. That is what has finally been released. An unsent letter written while you waited beneath the station clock. A confession protected by legal silence. Evidence proving your security token was manipulated. A final page admitting that sacrifice without consent can become another form of control. Do not let the drama of the letter rush your heart. You deserve love that speaks before silence becomes permanent. You deserve someone who trusts your strength enough to share the danger rather than decide what you can survive. Perhaps your soulmate has finally learned that lesson. Perhaps the letter gives you the closure needed to stop asking why they never came. Both outcomes honor the truth. Comment: my voice belongs inside every decision about my life. If you believe genuine love requires honesty, consent, and direct communication. Like this video if you believe a hidden sacrifice can never replace an open conversation, and subscribe for more emotionally powerful stories about secret letters, accountability, courage, and self-respect. Your soulmate's unsent letter has finally been released. They came to the station. They saw you waiting. They loved you when they entered the car. But they allowed fear to make a decision that belonged to both of you. The truth has arrived 1,000 days late. Whether it becomes the beginning of one new conversation or the final explanation that releases you from the past remains exactly where it always should have remained, in your hands.